Welcome back, Onslaught fam, for another faction episode. Today we have two wonderful gentlemen playing a personally terrifying faction I've been victimized by many times. We have Mr. Caesar and Sir Dustin here. So we'll start with you, Dustin, if you want to kind of introduce yourself, let the people know who you are, and anything else you want to share about where they might be able to reach you or check you out.
Yeah, so I'm Dustin, fellas. I've played on a couple of teams down here in the South. I love big stompy robots, and I'm on the Discord for all the Knights, so you just reach out to me. I'm pretty well known on there.
All right, and Caesar, how about yourself, sir?
Greetings, friends. I am the creator behind Recon by Fire. I do short form battle reports focusing on Knight content, but I play all kinds of Knights: Imperial Knights, Grey Knights, and Deathwing Knights. And yeah, I started playing in 10th and been loving the whole mech warrior / battletech thing the whole way throughout the edition. You can also catch me in the Onslaught Gaming Discord.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And, we like to start these out with kind of, the obvious question. What was the draw for you guys? Why Imperial Knights? Caesar, we'll start with you. What kind of, you said you started in 10, so what was kind of this is what I want to do?
So mine was actually pretty straightforward. Unfortunately, there's nothing super exciting. I had a good friend I would spend quite a bit of time with. He was into the hobby and might have had a slight problem with the hobby as far as having an excessive size surplus of units. And so he was like, hey, I think you'd like this game. You should try it out. I'm like, I don't know about it. He's like, here, I will gift you 1,000 points of an army. And he was a Knight player at the time as well. So he was kind enough to gift me 1,000 points of Knights. And I played one game with, I'm sure we've got all the rules wrong because I was brand new in 10th and he was very casual, but I was kind of hooked at that point. Again, going back to Mech Warrior, I was like, this feels amazing. We played Knights on Knights, so I thought that's how the game played, and I kind of was hooked up until then. My addictive personality took over, and now I play at least a game a week, probably more so if I can, and I'm still not bored with Knights at all.
Fantastic! You got bamboozled into it. What a good friend. We love that. And Dustin, what drew you into the Pacific Rim faction?
I also started in 10th, and for me, when I first started in the very beginning, it felt like Knights were terrible, and everybody thought they were really bad. And I love a good challenge, and that's why I picked them up. And because back then you could only run like 4 bigs, and it was awful, but I loved it. And I just love big, giant robots on the battlefield. It's awesome.
Yeah. My earlier joke aside, there is a certain, presence to a Knight army you see. Big, large chassis. Lots of detail. Weapon pipes, wires. And then also there is just the whole, knightly lore behind it, which is another layer of kind of, the rule is literally called Code Chivalric, if I recall correctly.
Correct. Yes, sir.
So kind of going into that, you both started beginning at 10th. Knights have had one of the more interesting kind of trajectories in the game, starting with, the index and how original towering worked, and then that got nerfed. And as Dustin said, the points didn't quite go down when the towering change was made. So you were left with an army that felt like it should be able to see 90% of the board, but now it can't. And so we'll start with you, Dustin. Kind of what has your experience been from, starting with 4 Knights who may have been a little pricey to kind of, where you're at now in the meta, going to events and playing the army?
So back then, when I first started building, I built these 4 big giant Knights, and I was playing them, and I was like, man, these are just awful. And I really moved into the direction where I started playing Canis Rex and 10 Arbiters. And I saw a lot of success with that army branch, right? Like at the time, it felt like no one else was playing it. Everyone was running like 2 to 3 bigs and like 4 smalls. And I really enjoyed having that maximum pressure from all the smalls with Canis Rex on the board. I was able to win a couple events with it too. That's how I got my golden tickets for the year. I was able to go Worlds. And then after Worlds, it seemed like the meta was like Eldari and super anti-tank. right? With Ultramarines, like everything was just killing these smalls really good. And I was like, man, what can we do next? And I was like, man, I really think when Eldari took a nerf, it felt like moving, because now we have our codex and no one was playing Questoris Capans at the time. And that's where I started playing the 5 big list with triple Lancers, double Atropos. And that is like very good right now, I think.
Yeah. For the and if you could, we'll get into a bit about the Atropos and the Lancers, because they are very good. So you kind of went from Index, which kind of emulating what the Chaos Knights did, which is just armature spam with your named character Canis, who pre-Codex had some very, very good rules, to now transitioning to just a staple of 5 big bricks of stats that, well, are just that, 5 big bricks of stats.
Yeah, and like I said, it's a very good high pressure list. It plays really good, like fast Warhammer, very fun to play, and that list just seems very good.
Yep, and we'll get more into the specifics of that here in a bit. But Caesar, what about you, sir? After your 1,000 point game, kind of what was your journey through the edition like?
So my initial couple lists were catered, like most initial hobbyists, to what I had access to, and I ended up getting a almost similar 1,000 points from someone who was trying to offload the hobby. I got a decent price and put that together. So for a good while, I was running 3 big knights and then the rest armigers, because that's what I had. And similar to what Dustin was saying, I realized very early, as I began to get more experience, to understand that points is what won games. Movement and points are what wins games, not necessarily taking your opponent off the board. I realized that we were losing a lot of resources very quickly, and obviously I wasn't maximizing my use of them. And so I also shifted to more armigers, because they were battle line, they were plenty of OC, so I could steal all kinds of objectives from people. When I started to realize that, I'm like, hey, armiger by itself can turn into objective and take just 5 points from my opponent easily. I realized that having those kind of initial sacrificial units where you can go 2 or 3 turns, lose some of your guys, and not feel like you've been decimated was very powerful. I did make a shift where I was actually running, my lone big was the Atropos, because I just liked, for whatever reason, Canis felt like he would get shot off the board very easily for me. And so when I found out the Atropos had that invul and just had good melee and decent shooting, I was like, okay, this is the one. And at the time, a lot of people were not running it. And so I had that surprise factor where people weren't sure. And more often than not, they're like, cool, I'm going to tie it up because it's a big knight. And I was like, okay, well, here's its melee profile. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah. Or the 5-up invul. I remember the first time it survived, Rabute went into it. I was like, well, I guess I'll pick him up. I'm like, oh, go ahead and roll it. And then I rolled, spiked my saves, and I was like, wow, AP4 didn't kill it. Like, this is where it's at. And I stuck with that for a good amount of time, because I just felt like I wasn't a good enough player, where the more bigs I ran, the easier it was for me to make a mistake, get punished for it, and then I couldn't recover because I had so few activations. And I kind of stayed in that point, but once the Codex came out, I could no longer run all the armigers because they were no longer battle line. I made a shift and really started to kind of wanting to expand my knowledge of the game, which we can talk about when we get to the downsides or disadvantages of the faction. And I wanted to expand my knowledge of the game as a whole and understand what my opponents could do so I could better play against it. And so I began to really dive deep into having allies to maintain that level, that high number of activations, have trash units I can use on secondaries, or to screen deep strike, or to screen a charge and protect my knights and really up my game. And I've kind of been sitting in that happy medium. Again, I'm afraid to run too many bigs because of my skill level, and just the room for error is very small when you only have 5 activations. We can get a lot of bang for our buck for sure, but I don't know if it's the armies I play with or the skill level of players I go up against, but the stat check has really never been a stat check when I've been on that side of the board. And so I really kind of sit on that. The lowest I like to go on my activations is 9. And even then I'm kind of stressing a little bit. And so I've ran more well-rounded list. I've dove back into 3 bigs right now is what I'm currently running, because they are in a good spot. But most of the time I sit about the 2 with as many allies as I can get to accomplish the things I need to.
Yep, and it's really cool to see that level of diversity in what a lot of people consider one of the most elite armies in the game. Because as you know, Dustin said, he just has 5 models, 5 units, 5 models done. you said you have 9 activations. Some of those are allies, which could be anywhere from 5 to 11 models, depending on what allies you're bringing. So even in a faction as potentially elitist knights, there is still this strata of variation you can dive into, which is super cool and good for keeping the faction fresh, both for players and potentially GW for balancing or rules or what have you. So kind of the something I want to go over real quick. We don't spend too much time on this, but just for people who may not know, kind of the rules of knights, because both of you have kind of touched on it. The Atropos, Lancer, you mentioned with Canis versus the Atropos having the invuln. Kind of the rules of knights. So kind of we'll start with the generic army rule. The code chivalric. Dustin, if you want to explain how that works for the people.
So basically, during the deploy section of your time, you actually determine your deed and your quality. And we have 3 different deeds and 3 different qualities that we can choose from. One of the deeds are going to be kill number of units, that is what battle round it is. Hold more objectives in no man's land at the end of your opponent's turn. And we also have the kill a character that we select at the beginning of the battle. And our qualities are +2 move, +1 advance to charge, +2 OC, +1 leadership, and then reroll a hit and a wound. So those are all very good. We can randomize it. We can roll a dice on a chart. And if we get honored, which would be completing our deed, we'll get 2 CP. If not, 3 CP if you do it randomized, and then 2 if not. And that's how that works.
Yep. And then I believe one of the other rules is they have a rule specifically for allying them into other armies, which is, if I recall, 1 Titanic Knight or 3 Armiger class models into an allied Imperial army, if Knights is not your faction. And is there another? Yeah. And is there another army rule they have, or are those the 2? I believe
those are the 2. The thing that most people associate with Knights as well is Super Heavy Walker and Titanic and Towering, which is probably the other quote-unquote rules you're thinking of.
Yeah. If you want to go over those real quick, and then also at the end of it, kind of throw in the famously how Knight invulns are generally different from other armies that have an invulnerable save.
Sure thing.
Yep.
So as far as the invul, since you just mentioned that, the interesting thing the Knights have is that in most cases when a unit has an invul, it just has an invul. 4 up in shooting and melee, or if it pops it once per turn, something like that, or like the void shields or shadow shields that Drukhari get. Anyways, the Imperial Knights, all of our Knights, both Armigers and this is just Imperial Knights, right? So I shouldn't be saying War Dogs and I forgot whatever their big Knights called.
Yeah, Imperial Knights. Yeah, Armigers and Titanic.
Yeah. So Armigers and our Questoris Knights, our Cerastus Knights, our Dominus Knights, they all have a 5-up invul, but only in shooting. This is thematically according to their ion shields that they're able to rotate that defends them from heavy anti-tank attacks that go into them. In melee, we are strictly on our armor save. So it's very important. Now, of course, there's always exceptions to every rule. And so, as we mentioned previously, the Knight Lancer and the Knight Atropos, which are both Cerastus Knights, have invuls all the time. The Lancer has a 4-up invul all the time, much like Terminators, and the Atropos has a 5-up invul all the time, similar to Orcs. I think we could probably go with that. So whether it's in shooting,
have 5-up all the time.
Yep. So there you go. And that covers the 5-up invul. So it's very unique and very something that you don't see very often. So something to consider. As far as the other keywords go, and if I get these mixed up, please correct me, Dustin or Regal. But the towering keyword first means that if on most other units, you have to be wholly within the terrain feature or be peeking out one side to have true line of sight into another unit. For towering, as soon as you put a millimeter of your base onto that template, you can see true line of sight through the whole thing. And so what this means is, since our units are so tall, they're towering, if there's a wall that is 4 inches tall and they have a unit on the other side, instead of having to be wholly within the template, if your knight touches that building, he is then able to see over that wall and see the unit that's hiding on the other side through true line of sight. This is something that you definitely need to communicate with your opponent, because it could surprise them and it could lead to a very big feel bad. So I definitely encourage you to have good lines of communication with your opponent when you're playing big knights and you're moving stuff, because it will surprise people and it will lead to feel bads. Granted, you don't have to baby them the whole game, but make it a point you express that. And when you're moving, hey, if I touch this building, I'm going to be able to see all the way down this way. The super heavy walker is very interesting because that means we are able to move over everything minus vehicles. So any Terminators, any Orcs, any Drukhari Elves, all that stuff that's standing in the way that are supposed to typically move block a unit, we can simply walk over. Now, we cannot finish in engagement range, so there is still a safety bubble around that unit that we cannot stand on, but where it would stop, for example, Grey Knight Terminators from plowing into somebody, or a horde of Gene Stealers, hint, hint, going through and attacking a high priority target, we are able to simply walk over it. That also means we could do that when they tie us up in combat. So if someone charges us and we're tied up, we can't go anywhere. Well, when we fall back, we are able to move over that unit instead of having to make a desperate escape, because it's part of the super heavy walker keyword. There is one last aspect to that, which is what I covered, towering, and then Titanic, which I believe the only thing that lets us go through walls. There we go. Okay, I got there. Titanic allows us to plow through walls that are 4 inches or greater. So typically in the game, anything that's mounted or vehicles have to go around a wall because it's a wall. Because we're so big and lunky and enormous, we can just Kool-Aid man through a wall. If your movement is 10 inches and a wall is 5 inches away from you, you can land on the other side of it. The only downside is you will have to roll 1d6, and on a 1, we are battle shocked. That's the only downside to it. You have to clear it entirely, so you can't stand on that wall. You don't destroy the wall. It is still there. We just go through it. And the last part is combining Titanic with, Dustin, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Is it Titanic in character, or is it super heavy walker in character? I know it's character. I don't remember
it's
what
Titanic in character. If you're talking about doing actions when you shoot.
Yes. Do you want to go ahead and take that one?
Yeah. So being giant knights, we don't have a lot of activations. So GW did help us and give us the ability to shoot and do an action with our Titanic characters. We can also do an action if we're in engagement range of other units as well, which is kind of big.
But only with Titanic character, not Armiger character or non-Titanic.
No, only with Titanic units.
Yep. So unfortunately,
and then whenever we deploy, Titanics count as 2 models in the deployment step 2, which is a big one for us. It allows us to kind of balance the game in a way of only having a certain, very limited amount of models.
So, for like an example, your list of five Titanic models would equate to your opponent deploying 10 of their models, unless they were also Titanic.
That is correct.
Yep. So now we kind of got a baseline of the rules, the things you're working with, the allowances for such a potential elite army to use. Moving through walls, so you can't necessarily, and over models, so you can't just be move blocked by 10 guardsmen in a ruin. So you can still do cleanse, even if you do take 5 bigs and someone charges, 20 gargoyles at you for some reason. You can still cleanse the objective and fight them off, shoot them off, whatever. It's like you said, all very good things that basically allow the army to function, because otherwise it would be, as you said, Caesar, very hard to score points in a game. So kind of with that, how have you gentlemen kind of, found your way, what units kind of have you tested out or, gravitated towards? I know you both have talked about the Cerastus Knights. So we can kind of start there. Lancer and Atropos are very popular. A lot of in both, the Imperial and the Chaos version of Knights. But also, any other, things we talked about. Canis. So yeah, it's just kind of, Caesar, we'll start with you. Do you have any kind of pet units or units you kind of want to make work or try to put in lists?
I like the fact that you assumed I found my way, because I am still very much lost. It's unfortunate for me, because I actually am the kind of person that I like to get reps in. I like to lock in a list and just drive it into the ground, so I know all the nuances of it, know my data sheets, know how to deploy that unit, that army, and how to engage to kind of win games against multiple. Because you already know, you've played enough games. every army you face is different. Every player is going to play every army differently. And so really getting your reps in goes a long way versus having a bad roll with a unit and being like, oh, it's trash, or having a really good roll with a unit and be like, oh, this unit's awesome. Like, it's too small of a sample size. I will leave the Lancer to Dustin because I am actually pretty low on the Lancer compared to the rest of the community. I can't roll 4-ups, man. And mine gets tied up in combat all the time. So I'll let Dustin talk about that one. The Atropos, I liked it early on because it kind of just it gives you versatility. It asks very little of you other than to roll a decent number of shots in shooting. That it can casino cannon you sometimes, but it has a 5-up invul that all the time, which helps. It is very mobile with 12 inches of movement. Its weapons are okay into medium, like light to horde units. It's good into elite units, and then it's casino cannon into heavy targets, but still can get the job done. Its melee is very diverse as well and can surprise people. The Castigator has its places. It is anti-infantry with an anti-infantry gun with an anti-vehicle weapon system. Again, movement like the other Cerastus Knights, but it is lacking the invul across the board. And then the Akron I've never played because honestly, the datasheet just doesn't appeal to me at all and seems very expensive for its points.
Is that the 700 one?
No. That's the Cerastus Knight with the flamer. Yeah, exactly. You don't even know which one it is. It's the Cerastus Knight. It's got double chain blades and then a giant flamer. But it's just heavily costed.
It's just like a baby flamer.
Oh, it's not even that. Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's like 2d6 shots. It's really bad.
Oh, so great. Just bring it in later.
Sorry, there's one more Titanic rule we didn't mention that's very important if people don't know it. Titanic keyword cannot Overwatch. So
yes,
that's
a big one.
If you hear talk about Flamer, oh, that sounds like a good Overwatch thing. Titanic cannot do that, so just don't worry about that.
Yeah, honestly, if you're a Knight player, unless you need it to score points, you're pretty much never going to Overwatch. I can count on one hand how many times I've Overwatched, and it's typically with a Helverin that has sustained hits and AP1 added to it. That's about the only time, unless I'm running an Immolator with Flamers. But going on to the Questors, I'm going to try to keep it quick on that part because we have a ton of them. But really, it's kind of whichever one suits your fancy, what you feel your list needs, and you're over a game plan. There's really no Questors Knight that's bad. They all have their application as long as they're deployed correctly. I have been a fan of the Crusader simply because of the number of shots. I feel like the more dice I roll, the less chances I have for a high or low roll to kind of ruin my strategy. And so I've been a fan of that, though it has also had highs and lows during the flow of the edition and rules-based. I mean, really, they're all interchangeable. The Gallant is the all melee one. That one has performed better on occasions for me as well, even though I really feel bad about not missing out on the shooting phase altogether. As far as armigers, we really only have two. I've tried the Moiraxes a couple times, and having the anti-tank melee weapon on it is pretty good. I've had some people vouch for the double devastating wounds weapon on it. I don't remember what they're called. I think it's the Volkite. I might be wrong. It might be it is the Volkite. Okay, yeah. I've had some people run the double Volkites because it's AP 0, but it's devastating wounds. I haven't tried it. I think it's too expensive for what it brings to the table, so I don't bring it. And then the Warglaive will disappoint you in melee. It will disappoint you in melee every single time. But when you get Melt of 4 and you hit both those shots and just hand over a ridiculous amount of damage to a tank, it feels absolutely glorious. So take that with a grain of salt. And the Helverin, the same. They just both disappoint. You're going to take them because they're going to steal objectives and there are workhorses. But when you fire 8 shots at AP 0 because everything gets covered and your opponent just makes all your saves, you're like, yep, that's a thing that could happen. Okay. But you're going to bring them and they're going to do work and you're going to be happy about it. And they're going to disappoint you sometimes, but they're still hopefully going to get their points back. And then I brought the Porphyrion, which is our 700-point model. Brought that one time to a team's event because I wanted to bring it, and my team said it was okay, and it was fun. We'll leave it at that, and then I'll hand it over to you, Dustin.
Real quick, there is one army rule, Dustin, I'd like you to go over. We did not go over, and that is the signature difference between Imperial and Chaos Knights. That is your bondsmen rule.
Yeah. So I love the Porky. by the way. That thing is awesome. It is amazing to play. So the bondsmen, one of our attachments, Spearhead at Arms, it's our armature attachment. We have the ability, our big knights each have a unique ability to point at a armature within 12 and give it a certain ability that each Taurus has. And that's what our bondsman does. The Spearhead at Arms, if we're talking about our favorite stuff, I love running max amount of smalls. It's one of my favorite ways to play. I love Warglaze, but I love them for their meltas. Like Caesar was saying, though, that melee profile, it won't kill a 5-man Marine squad. It'll disappoint you every time.
It really does. It's
like, it just does not kill that kind of stuff. But it does just melt through tanks and Catan and all the stuff that you need to kill is just amazing. I love Warglaze. I love our smalls, and then like Canis Rex is also like one of my favorite models of all time.
Yeah,
he is amazing. He has a very cool ability. He's the only knight that we have that comes with a pilot that jumps out after it dies, and then he jumps out. He's blown up. He gets to run around the board still save your games. He's also very cool. And then one of my favorite knights is the Lancer. It's a very cool looking knight. It's a guy with a big shield with a lance. Have you ever seen it? It moves 14 base, 8 damage strike profile, 5 attacks, just nasty. And it gives a free tank shock, which is amazing. That means you can stack up to 4 tank shots in your turn if you have 4 picks.
Yeah. First time you do that to an opponent, they're just like, you can do what? You're like, yeah.
Yeah. It's a masterpiece. But yeah, those are some of the best units that we have, I think.
Dustin, do you want to go ahead and elaborate on Canis just a little bit, just because he has so much attached to him?
Yeah, so Canis is he's a base chassis knight. He does have our involved in range, but he does not get it in melee, which is his only downfall. He's very disgusting in melee though, with 9 damage strikes. He does have sustained hits on all his weapons, but he used to crit on 5s, now he crits on 6s, normal sustains, and he has one of the coolest abilities I've ever seen. At the beginning of any phase, he can literally just look at something and unbattle shock it once per game, and that thing is game breaking. Because like if you're running through walls with your bigs and you roll a 1, you battle shock yourself. You cannot advance and charge. You can't tank shock with that thing anymore. It really destroys your momentum in the game.
One of the times I played Questoris Companions, I did exactly that. I ran the Lancer through a wall and to advance and charge him, and he battle shocked through the wall, standing in front of my opponent's deployment zone. Canis was not in a place to see him, and as you know, the advance and charge strat triggers in the charge phase. So I was like, guess he's just gonna stand there in front of your whole army.
Awful. It's just bad. Like the one time we need an advanced charge strat after we move, and they give it to us in the charge phase. Like,
yep.
GW.
Like, yep, that's all right. That's a thing that happened. Sweet. That's why we play dice games. Yeah. Do you want to touch very briefly on how you use your Lancer? Because I think it's a very nuanced knight to do. I think a lot of people just rush it out there and be like, hey, let's see how the 4-ups go. But I think there's the right and wrong way to play it. So since you've had experience about it, do you want to elaborate on that one as well?
So if we're talking about a little bit about the Lancer and why a lot of people like to bring one Lancer, and that is incorrect because of the way the model is that it wants to create a lot of pressure. But if you only have one of it, it's very easy to deal with, right? Every army in the game can deal with one Lancer. The reason why you want to run 3 is because a lot of armies have problems dealing with the other 2 after it kills the first one, right? And that's the problem. So with your 4-up involved, and you move 16 with one of our qualities, +2 move, +1 advanced charge, you're able to really go touch anything you want in the game, going through walls, go hit something, and then you're able to let all your opponent's army focus that Lancer down. Because he has to put in at least about half of his army into the Lancer to make sure it dies. Because if he doesn't, then there's a Lancer in his deployment zone, not dead, and then that's going to win the game too. And having your other 2 Lancers ready to go, usually you don't want to be where you're just right behind the first Lancer. You want to be a little bit safer, staged, ready, like playing Orcs or any kind of melee or pressure list. You want to be staged and have that second wave of your big knights, followed by like 2 Atropos or 2 other gun, hybrid units that can also move up, shoot, and then charge.
Yeah. So just touching on the Lancer, I wanted to circle back to it. So thank you for that. Deep dive. Not only is it 5 attacks at flat 8, you forgot the other part of its profile, which is strength 20 with lance, which means almost everything in the game is just getting wounded on 2s.
I mean, it is going to be mostly 2s and 2s. Like, even if you have like a -1 of wound strat, like every detachment build, like we have +1 of wound against it, so we just minus that out too. It's really good.
Yeah,
2s and 2s, re-rolling a dice is usually going to give you 5 saves. You have to make at least, most things have to make 4 saves to live, because like most stuff don't have 16. 16 is a lot.
Yeah, for those of you doing the math, that is any Primarch that is not Magnus or Mortarion just dies on average, because they have 16 wounds and no way to reduce the damage.
And then Tank Shock, too. Kill those 2.
Dude, my personal nightmare is 3 Lancers just like 12 inches away, just like revving their engines at me. Yeah. I don't know, if they just charge me, I just die. Like 12 to 15 immortals plus their melee. There goes 1,200 points in my army, I guess. I don't know what to do.
And that's a lot of times that's what happens in these games, I mean, it is, a really fun way to play, and like I think that's the correct way, because like if you're playing just one of them, it doesn't have that much pressure as 3.
Yeah. No, that's very good. I enjoy, like I said, that deep dive. So kind of going forward, we're gonna take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, but when we come back, we're gonna go into the new kit on the block, the Free Blades, and see what you guys' opinion of them are, as well as the newest kit on the block, the Destier, making his way up through the nightly ranks. So stick with us, and we will be back in a few minutes. All right, everyone, welcome back. And of course, thank you to our wonderful sponsors for making all of this possible. So as I said, we're gonna want to ask you gentlemen about we'll start with Free Blades, a detachment, because that's always, super exciting. Whole new set of rules, new stratagems, new ways to play, maybe breathe some life into some unseen, models or weapons. So, Dustin, what are your Free Blades making any waves for you, or are you pretty well established with your 5 bigs and companions?
Okay, so Free Blade Company they gave us back our index detachment. 6 up, feel no pain, across the board on our knight models. We get a wound back to you in the command phase. I honestly think this probably could be our second to third best attachment. Very easy, right? Like I'm on it a lot. Has some great strats in it. And some great enhancement too. Like we get our Mysterious Guardian back, which is my favorite detachment, like enhancement in the game. Like
you can go ahead and let the people know what that does, just in case they're not up to date on it.
Yeah. So Mysterious Guardian gives our giant knight chassis deep strike, and once per game you can literally bring it off the battlefield and bring it back down in your next movement phase, which is crazy good.
In Index, just personal story, I had a very good friend of mine who got into Warhammer around the same time I did, playing Knights. His favorite is, I don't know if it still is or was, the Castellan, and he Mysterious Guardian a Castellan like 9 away from me. and just blew away like 30% of my army. So
yeah,
strong.
It is extremely powerful in our detachment. It's very good. We also got like a lot of good other enhancements too. Like Bringer of Justice, right? Gives us 2 extra attacks in our melee. Let's hit on 2s, which is a lot of our hybrid knights hit on 3s base. So hitting on 2s is like very good. An Atropos hitting on 2s with that great melee profile.
That's what I was going to say. An Atropos with that is terrifying.
Yes.
These Caesar's like, oh, you know.
That's exactly what I'm on right now. Everyone's talking about putting on the Destrier. I'm like, but I'm running Atropos. Sorry.
Yeah, you're put it on Atropos. Hit that thing on 2s. You don't have to worry about being a vehicle. Now it is an elite killer. Kills all elite infantry, damage 4 attacks, AP 3. And then I think Caesar probably likes this one, the Enormous Cover for the Crusader.
Or the Castellan. It works good on the Castellan too.
My kind of good pick though is the Defender. That's also a new chassis that we just got, and it literally suffers from the lack of AP.
True.
We're no cover on it, and that thing has a conversion beamer, AP2, 4 damage, huge. So I'm really on the new attachment. I really think it's gonna be one of the best attachments we have.
We'll get to the attachments, kind of where you guys are on them a bit, but it's high praise. Caesar, how about you? Not to spoil too much.
I'll go ahead and use your segue to talk about all of them a little bit, and then Dustin, just feel free to interject as you see fit. The one thing I will say about getting back the index is I actually feel like we missed I love Free Blades. I think Free Blades is legit. I like the fact that it doesn't ask anything of you as far as list building goes. I like detachments like that because it allows you to modify lists based on your preferences of chastities and your meta and maybe even your layout. And so that's why I like it. I like the extra durability. Feel no pain sometimes when you're a newer player, it's going to feel weird because you're like, I barely made any feel no pains. It's not going to make your knights incredibly durable. What it's going to do is throw off your opponent's math. And that, as you learn to play more, is going to be a huge difference. They can't be like, oh, you're on 12 wounds. I could do 3-4 damage shots and get you there. No, you might not. Because if I make 1 or 2 feel no pains, now that knight's alive on 2. And just having that capability forces your opponent to make suboptimal plays to account for that randomness. And that is more important than you can tell because it sits in the negative space. You don't know sometimes you will, point blank, oh, cool, I'm alive at 2. But sometimes it's not going to be that nuanced. Maybe it's the 2 feel no pains you made 2 turns earlier or an attack that they whiffed. And so because of that, you're not going to always see the results, but it's there. But anyways, going back to where I started on this one, they did not give us back our fight on death. And I can't tell you how amazing that strat was for big knights, because your opponent would try to finish them off in melee, try to take down Canis, try to take down your big knight, and you're like, cool, you did it. But I'm going to go ahead and automatically fight on death with this giant knight. So I'm going to take out at least half of your squad, if not the whole thing. And that strat was really, really good. So I do miss that one. I will say that. On that note, jumping to other strats or other detachments, I think there is play in every detachment for what you want to play as a knight player. I don't think any of them are bad. There's not one that you're absolutely shooting yourself in the foot to play this. That being said, there are some that are better. Obviously, Questor's Companions, Spearhead, and Free Blades are the front runners. Spearhead wants you to run as many armigers as you can, but you still have to bring large knights. You can't just armiger spam like the Compact Lance for Chaos can. Questor's Forge Pack wants you to bring a certain amount of AdMech, but does have play. There are playable. I've played it a couple times, and there are people that have had success with that detachment. And then finally, Questor's Companions wants you to run as many bigs as you can. That could be supplemented now, not just 5 bigs. You can run Destriers that we'll talk about here in a moment. And then Gate Warden Lance. Gate Warden, right? That's it? GWL, yep. I think. Yep. That one.
That's my favorite for the record.
Yep. That one simply wants you to be on a certain position on the board. That one does have its restrictions, why I'm a little less on it, because I believe battlefields get pretty random. You can't always get there. That being said, I haven't taken the time to really play and dive into it to see how often I can or cannot make that happen. But again, as far as building your actual list, you have a lot of flexibility there. The big one there is you want to stand on a certain line thematically and hold the line as you get buffs and your stratagems rotate around being on that, or rely on being on that line. Again, touching Spearhead real quick, you bring your big knights, and going back to that bondsman ability, instead of it being just a 1-to-1 trade, you actually can bondsman 3 things. So if you take, for example, a knight defender, which is an almost auto pick in that detachment, now you're giving 3 different armigers -1 incoming damage, which again, similar to Field of Pains, can add up, except it's kind of guaranteed, which is really nice. And you have a little more flexibility. That's where I started to run the Castigator, giving 3 Halverins +1 AP and sustain hits. The Free Blades we talked about, Questor's Companions we've talked about as well. Once you bring bigs, it buffs your bigs, makes them awesome. The big one there is the fact that you can have sticky objective for 1 CP, and that means you can make an objective of your own at 5 OC, which means your opponent has to try to get 6 OC on that objective to take it away from you. They can contest it at 5 because it's not worded exactly how the Chaos one is, so they can contest it, but if they move off of it or you shoot them off of it, it goes back to being it's still yours, which is a big thing because, again, we're only going to have 5 models on the field. Which one? Let's see. We talked about Forge Pack. We talked about Gate Warden, Valor Strike. Valor Strike is another one that doesn't really ask much of you list building, which is one of the ones I gravitated to, but it also gives us the ability to kind of up your skill level with a reactive move. If you ever played against armies with reactive move, it's really difficult to kind of take that into consideration, especially when you have multiple targets. A reactive move can be very, very powerful in a knight detachment, where now we can make a knight tow onto a building, be able to shoot through it, and if your opponent tries to get to that knight, you can reactive off of that template, and now they no longer have line of sight into it. You can react and move away, making the charge more difficult. You can react and move towards a target, maybe towing onto objective where you can see stuff now, or even making their charge a lot worse because you're in their backfield. So there's a lot of really ways you can use that reactive move to your advantage. And we also have one of our best defensive strats in that detachment, which is giving us a 4-up invul in shooting, which, going back to the Lancer, now it's a 50% chance that every shot will hit or miss going into us. And when you have one knight exposed and you know that's the one they're going to have to focus down, increasing your chances to survive by that much is extremely powerful. And yeah, I think that's all 6 of them, right? I feel like I'm missing one, but maybe I'm not. Forge Pack. That's all of them? Okay, cool. Do you have anything to add on any of those, Dustin?
No, that was great.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And of those, which one would you would you like say you're enjoying the most? You know, it doesn't have to be the best, just like is your brand of knights. Yes,
I pretty much play the top 3. I tried Questor's Companions for the channel a couple times, but 5 bigs is like, it's a quick game and your strategy is straightforward, but again, trying to up my level of strategery, I've really tried to stick on somewhere between the 9 to 12 activations, 9 to 11 activations. And so I haven't played that much. Also, I try to stay away from the most popular list just because, again, making content, I want to show diversity. So whenever something is the best in the meta, I subconsciously gravitate away from it. That's just the way I did the same thing in Magic. Whenever I tried my best not to play the best deck. And so since everyone's on 5 bigs, I really don't. Moreover, on that point, it's not the funnest to play against if you're not prepared for it. So in a tournament setting, hey, you sign up for it, it is what it is. When you're playing with friends, you kind of want to let them know, hey, I'm going to bring 5 bigs, so be prepared, because it may be a very quick game. So I went back to Valor Strike. That was the one I was on right off the bat when the Codex dropped, because I like the versatility and diversity of it. I did try Spearhead because, similar to Dustin, I like having a lot of armigers because you can do a lot more things. You can lose. I remember the first game I played, it was against elves. They picked up 4 of my armigers in one turn. I was like, okay, well then, I don't know what I'm going to do next. But then I looked and I was like, well, shoot, I still have 7 activations. Like, okay. And having that ability versus Oh man, you bracketed one knight and killed another. I have 4 activations left. That's rough. So Spearhead does a lot of work. I like that one as well. But really Valor Strike and then Freeblade is pretty much the 2 that I've stuck with, because again, you can try stuff. You're like, I want to bring more shooting knights. I want to bring more melee knights. I want to bring more allies. And all those lists are viable in those detachments. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm running at the moment.
Just to quickly touch on Freeblade, the durability of the 6-up Fatal Pain is even more important because you also gain a wound, as Dustin said, at every command phase. So not only are you potentially blocking damage with the 6-up Fatal Pain, but you're guaranteed, a little bit of healing from that, which again, one wound doesn't sound like a lot, but it could be. It could, if you live on one wound, that one wound you gave last turn mattered, or it could take you from being bracketed to not, which is now more OC and a better hit profile more often than not.
Or not having to make a battle shock test.
Also relevant.
We did talk about the defensive profiles and capabilities of Freeblade. The one thing I also want to add on that, Dustin did mention it had great strats. It has phenomenal offensive strats. The 2 outliers is, and I'm really bad about names. I focus on, I just remember what it does, and that's what I say. But for 1 CP, we can give a knight that is 9 inches away from any of friendly units, reroll 1s to hit and wound, and we can trigger it both in the shooting and in the fight phase. That is a huge combat multiplier. Absolutely phenomenal. Going back to the combo with Bringer of Justice on the Atropos, hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s 90% of the time, and you're rerolling 1s, that is a atrocious profile to try to survive. The other thing we have is mobility wins games, and we have an auto advance, which doesn't sound like much, but let me tell you, when you can auto advance a knight 18 inches, somewhere between 16 and 18 inches, or you can send a Destrier or an Armiger somewhere between 21 to 24 inches. I am telling you, that is extremely scary for your opponent when they're like, you could just end up anywhere on the board next turn. And that is how you turn CP into VP.
Yeah, no, that is my personal philosophy. Many people on the channel, have heard me say many times, tricks win games. Not at all, determined by the faction I play, nor that. But I value, damage. Every army could do damage. It's a war game that even, Imperial agents can do damage to some extent when it needs to. So, and I mean, not to undersell it, even a Lancer, like as we said, hits on 2s, wounds almost everything on 2s. Now you're rerolling 1s on both of those. That's 5 saves on everything, representing 8 damage per failed save. Like, at that point, great unclean ones aren't even safe, as I'm sure Dustin could potentially attest to. I don't know your experience, but I imagine no one's happy about hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s all around Lancer, hitting him in the face. No, I'm both excited to see where Freeblade goes and terrified. I'm also just super hyped for Gate. I love the thematic playstyle Gatewood Lance gives you, as well as the rules that it gives, the stratagems and stuff. We gotta wait and see how that comes going forward. Which fantastic segue. Thank you, me. I've been doing this a while. I'm almost a professional. What are your gentlemen's thoughts, kind of going forward for Knights? We're at the end of an edition. The beginning, we're getting hints about where the game is going, so there's no hard prediction for that. But kind of rounding out the edition now with the armies that are still prevalent, and as you said, Caesar, Knights can, depending on the list, can be very polarizing for matchups. It can be either very quick, either for you or your opponent's benefit, or it could be a more even match. If again, in a tournament setting, you can't control it. In a content-friendly setting, you can, of course, kind of prearrange for, the best show possible. But in the context of just general playing Knights, we'll start with you, Dustin. What are some you don't have to get super deep in the weeds, but your matchup matrix. What are your thumbs up if you hear you're going into X army, you're just like, yeah, let's get it. And if you're going into Y army, you're like, do I have to, coach? Kind of vibes. And this can change depending on the detachment you're considering running, because as we've already established, there's even in Knights there is a strata of playstyles and units to bring.
So I think that we've kind of gotten a new boogeyman lately with the release of a crab that came out.
I 100% agree.
Right, so that Defiler really messes up a big Knight.
You're specifically talking about the Nurgle Packbound Zealots Defiler, not the Defiler data sheet.
That one is pretty good. The World Eater Defiler in melee can kill us. The T-Suns can kill us. It seems like every single one of them can kind of just shoot us dead.
Mortarian's
very good for 250 points. And so right now, in a team setting, if I was doing my Matrix, like I wouldn't want to play into anything with that kind of stuff. The Vilers are scary. I don't want to touch that. Space Marines also very scary. There's like a Salamander list coming out. We're not very good in the hordes, especially running 5 bigs. It's very hard for us to deal with that kind of stuff. And we might be the best army to kill other big things, but now a lot of people are bringing a lot of stuff to kill us. And we're just not in a great spot with those 5 bigs. So like Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines now, T-Suns, wouldn't want to play. Even Custodes, that could be a very swingy matchup. Like I just watched a game over on Recon About Fire, which is Caesar's channel. He lost to Custodes. It was like a 13-7. I did watch that. Oh, it was new detachment too, new layout. So he's playing new 11th edition rules. And then like you don't want to play anything like Horde. Like Recon Guard's probably the best army in the game right now. We can't beat that. We can't even pretend to beat that. Like there's nothing we could do. We don't have enough attacks to kill that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna put just an asterisk. And I know this is about Knights, but don't worry, no one can beat Recon Guard if they're playing it seriously. Yeah. That is just an insane list and playstyle. But the horde analogy does track, yes.
And then from there, I think if we're playing against there's a lot of armies or a lot of armies in 40k that play just fair Warhammer. We can beat fair Warhammer, right? If you're playing a lot of damage, we cannot beat you. Like it's going to be very scary. Like I said, I cannot believe that Defiler is 250 points. Let's just start that.
We just
got a new toy, and our new toy is also 250, which is crazy.
I'm certain it's going to go up in a week or two. There is an hot take. I don't think that the Defiler should go up equally across all 5 Chaos armies that can take it.
I agree. I just think the Chaos Space Marine should be 300 points.
I think the Emperor's Children one should stay 250 because all it gets is +1 to hit if you're above half.
If you're starting, yeah.
Yeah. So like, the Packbound Zealots, the Mortarian's Hammer. I don't know about the World Eaters one because that's corn dice whatnot. But the Packbound Zealots one for sure needs to be like 285 or something because that thing is
300. Hit it on the head. There's no reason it should be that good. 300 points. Like, call it good.
And for those of you who don't know, it is a T11 18 wound 5-up invuln all the time thing that it can be a gun platform with melee profile that is not just generic stomps like Helvern or Castellan or Riptide, like actual melee. Or you can give up one of its arm guns for more melee, which is also respectable. And the
extra attacks melee, right?
Yes.
Extra attacks
so
melee.
it gets both profiles.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
And the CSM one specifically can once per game when it makes its packed roll, which is the army roll, can get full rerolls to wound just by declaring it. So it's real. It can one turn with 2 to 3 of them. That's all you're going to need, and it's not against one target. So it's going to take its lethal hits with crit 5s and sustained. Again, crit and full reroll.
Full reroll hits, full rerolls,
full reroll wounds, and then just point at like 3 or 4 different targets and just delete them. That's
one. At
one.
It kills a knight, top to bottom.
And its guns range from an autocannon to like a ectoplasmic heavy infantry killer to las cannons. And the flamer
I thought we were trying to get people to play knights, not go to another faction.
Here's the thing, and here's my not counter argument, but ray of hope, because I also have to deal with defilers with a faction who doesn't have lancers. Putting out a destrier or even a lancer to go forward to do something, or even an atropos, is a heck of a way to get one or two of them to come out, and then you slam the lancer into those. And the lancer will pick them up.
The lancer will. We will
I
pick
have
them
no
up,
doubt.
but they will pick us up first if they see us.
Yes. So
that's like, that's my matrix really.
But what is the upside of your matrix? What is the hey? Also, just quick shout out to Caesar and Recon by Fire as well. He has a fantastic Forge Fathers battle reports on there. For those of you who think Ultramarines is the only way to do good with Space Marines, go watch some of those battle reports. Forge Fathers is terrifying.
You guys are
Salamanders are very good right now.
They are
also extremely good. I don't want to play against Salamanders. We're real. Knights are very good into Tyranids. That's a big green. And there are a lot of armies that we want to see. I would like to play against Tau, Grey Knights, Tyranids, League of Votown be pretty good. Any kind of those weird armies. My list is very good into melee matchups, so World Eaters, Orcs, Blood Angels, stuff like that. Any kind of 2 damage army you want to play into. Demons were very good into Chaos Demons.
I was just gonna say, I imagine demons, and even your not rivals, but the mere Chaos Knights.
We're very good at Chaos Knights because usually they're running triple to spoiler, which just does not handle 5 big things very well.
Yeah.
And you take the rerolls there. As far as our oath or our deed, quality. I'm sorry, you take the rerolls, and just that extra bit of accuracy makes the difference in damage between the matchup as well. And on the demon matchup, just do your absolute best where they cannot 6-inch charge a Bloodthirster into our big knight, because it will pick it up.
Unless it's a Lancer.
Yeah, there you go. Except Scarbrand gets dev wounds, right? Or does he?
No, he just hits as hard as a Lancer does.
Oh,
he hits as hard as a Lancer. He can probably still kill you. He's only damage 6 though. It's Belagor at depth.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so. And yeah, again, none of this is to doom and gloom. There are counters to knights, and that's okay, because if there was a time when there was no counters to knights, and that was about 3 years ago. Well, sorry, there was one, and that was an even more broken army called Eldar. So it's okay for there to be holes in a army. That's what makes the game fun and playable. So those of you, and thank you, Caesar, for getting us back on track. Who hear, if I see this, it's all, well, no, you can still win. There are things to do, and that is ultimately only so many points of your opponent's army. There's other points to play around and with. So don't.
If I could just tack on just a little bit on that last note, I don't want to harp on it too much because I think we've been on this for a little bit. But as far as archetype of player, I think we are good into inexperienced or friendly players. Anyone that's just kind of fair Warhammer. So. Because unfortunately, again, towering our firepower, our movement, our durability. So be cognizant of that with your play group. And the flip side to that, we are bad into any players that are very good at the movement phase. If a player understands the movement of the game and how knights work, they will be able to move block us from getting into our good targets, move block us from scoring primary or secondary, lock us in combat. And that, I think, is the biggest weakness to knights. And so take that for its worth. We may talk about that more later on the Not All Is Glitter section. So, but I wanted to throw that out there as well.
And it's real quick, since, you're what are kind of some of your matchups that you try to, not necessarily, from a competitive side, but also from a content side that you think are fun and engaging for you and your opponent and potentially audiences, who could go and see how knights play and that make for good matches.
Really, it's just a good conversation. I am a big proponent of trying to be the best opponent you can be and to make sure that both players have the best game they can play. And so I think it's really just communication. And if it's a friendly game, giving someone a heads up, hey, I'm bringing knights, so don't don't shrimp on the anti-tank. Make sure you have enough stuff that's either durable, can tie us up, or able to actually pick us up. Because, I mean, when I dominate a game, it's not really fun. If maybe in a tournament setting, sure, to a certain extent, but when we win, there's going to be good games where you challenge and it goes to round 5 where it matters, and there you feel more rewarded there because you made smart plays versus like, hey, I just blocked you in your deployment zone because I killed your 2 anti-tank vehicles on turn 1 because you didn't know how towering worked, and now I'm just blasting you off the board, and there we go. Like, it's not fun for them. It's not fun for us because you're not growing off of that game. Does that answer your question?
Yep. No, that's perfect. Yeah, and that's a, just as valid answer is, communicate with your opponent, even in a competitive setting. Just short little story. I went to Cherokee this year up in North Carolina, and I didn't run Knights, but I still ran Towering with Cornload Skulls. I had 3 of them, and I played an Eldari player who I told how Towering worked, but he did not internalize it on a 3D battlefield, and it cost him the game and made, not for I don't want to say a bad experience, but because he didn't quite know what it meant, it really did take away from his enjoyment. So yeah, being, like you said, having conversation, being clear is very important, because at the end of the day, this is a game we all play to enjoy, whether it's competitive, casually, content, whatever. It's a game. So that is a perfect point to make. So kind of, getting to the end of our, faction focus here, something and we've brought it up a couple times and kind of sprinkled it in, but as you said, Steve, not all glitters is gold. There are, things about pitfalls, traps, misconceptions. Maybe, there's a big misconception of, Knights are just a stat check. Either you beat it or you don't. So, then that can kind of play into the feels bad if someone doesn't know what they're getting into. But, would you mind going over some of the stuff? Say there's, a new player that's watching this, or, thinking about getting into Knights, or did just start Knights. Maybe some stuff, to advise them to watch out for that maybe you wish someone would have told you, or you've learned along the way. And then Dustin, we'll come to you after for anything you want to add on.
Actually, I'm good if you're okay with it giving it to Justin first, because I would probably go on a soapbox on this one. So
sure, Dustin, you want to let the good folks know of things to potentially watch out for, or lessons you've learned?
So the hardest lesson I learned is that if you're only playing with 5 models, losing 1 is a really big deal. Okay, so you want to do everything you possibly can to try to save your knight. And another one is, like you said, a good pre-game conversation about how tiring works, about how our rules different, how we can do the actions and or engagement range, the shooting you in action, all that kind of stuff does matter. And then a lot of times I will make sure that my opponent knows how fast a Lancer can go. Because a lot of people just don't understand it. So, and then we were talking about some really bad pitfalls. Is that my biggest thing is that a lot of people, if you're starting out nice, you just want to push all your models forward and not really do anything with them. And that will cause you to basically lose every model you have. And then you get tabled by turn 3, and then you feel like you had a bad game.
We are not as durable as people are led to believe.
We are not durable at all. Like I've always said, every army in the game can kill a knight. What do you think, Caesar?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I have stuff all across the board here, so give me a moment. We'll start off tactically. So going back to that weakest link, we do not have the volume of fire to deal with horde armies. So just understand that if you go up against something like Custodes that have a 2-up and a 4-up, or you go up against Orcs or Tyranids that have 150 models on the board, do not be surprised that you are blasting them off the table and you're still losing on points. And so I think that's one of the first things you have to come to terms with based on your meta or who you're playing with, that horde armies are rough for us because we just don't have the amount of shots. And that's why certain things like Catans and, oh man, I forgot his name now. The avatar of, is that the one from Eldar? Yeah.
Yep.
When they're durable, they have half damage and feel no pains and 4-up invuls. There's going to be times where you're not going to take your target out. We talked about how great those meltas are. They're 2 shots. Into a 4-up, you can do 12 damage or you can do 0. And so that's going to be one of the weaknesses that you learn early on with the army sometimes. Or Imperial Guard. My first game against Imperial Guard, I was like, cool, I'm going to kill the things that kill me. So I'm going to go after the tanks. And I did. But I still lost that game because he's like, I'm going to put 20 dudes on the center objective and 40 OC to your 10 OC big knight. And I was like, okay, I'll melee them. He's like, okay. I swung in. He rolled natural saves. All right, I killed 8 of them. How much OC do you have on there? He's like, 15. I was like, okay, never mind, you know? So like, that's going to be one of the downfalls that you're going to have to learn, and that's a growing aspect. Now, on the more social side, we already talked about the tactical aspects of it. It is intimidating. And I didn't realize that until I started to play other factions and my friends or my opponents were playing knights. And I was like, wow, I even know this may or may not be a good matchup, but it still feels intimidating seeing 3, 4, 5 big knights on the other side of the board with a lancer that could be in my deployment zone turn 1. So understand that not everyone is going to have fun playing into you. So again, in a tournament setting, it's what you sign up for. But if you're in a friendly kind of game, a group of friends, do your best to kind of make it a fun game for both of you because you want to improve as a player. On the hobby side, knights are a big undertaking. They always take longer than you anticipate. So realize that you're not going to get a knight army on the table in a week. And they're all centerpieces. The whole army are giant mechs that look awesome even from the table next door. So if you do a poor job painting them, you're going to be reminded of it all the time. If you're one of those people that's okay with that, totally cool. By all means, rock on. If you're one of those people that like to overachieve, this is like having 4 or 5 Primarchs on the table. They're all going to be, when they look good, and people will tell you. So be cautious of that from a hobby's perspective. The good thing on the hobby side, though, is that most of the time, magnets are your friends. Everyone will tell you everywhere you go, you magnetize them because, like the Questoris Knight, you have 8 different chastities you can choose from and weapon loadout. So magnetize them so you can flip them instead of having to buy a whole nother knight and a hobby a whole nother thing, because models are forever, but data sheets change all the time. And then our durability, we fall under melee. Any good melee army can do some serious damage to knights when your opponent is able to stage properly and use their strats effectively to get into us, because we don't have an invul. So we're going to be saving on 5s and 6s and sometimes not even have a save the majority of the time. And with damage 3 weapons, that it's going to hurt. So be aware of that, because again, if you run a pretty elite list, every model you lose is like slicing open a vein, and you have to have the mental fortitude to not tilt yourself and still play to your outs and have a good game afterwards. I think that is it. Oh, and this is the big one, and maybe a hot take, but I think it's good for the game when knights are bad. If knights are good, we're such a skewed list that it shifts the meta and can lead to a lot of feel bad. So I actually personally think it's better when knights are either mid-tier or low for the game as a whole. And I kind of like it personally because, again, I like to go against the grain. And I think, Dustin, you mentioned on it as well. So when knights aren't good, then people are wondering why you're running it. And when you do well with it, it's all the more, it's a better kind of chip on your shoulder. But also, we can expect less ways to deal with us. Versus when knights are good, everyone brings a ton of anti-tank and we're getting picked up pretty easily. Yeah, I think that is everything I wanted to touch on. One caveat just because I'm going to forget, and they will kill me. Any knight player will kill me if I don't say this. But the one thing I hope in 9th is they fix the harpoon or the thunderpoon. 11th, thank you. They fix the harpoon from the Valiant, because right now you can't use it in melee, and it's got a blast weapon, so you also can't shoot it in melee, which is really weird considering it's a giant harpoon.
Yeah, it's giant. It's like the speariest spear to ever spear, and you just can't use it in melee. It makes no sense.
Give it a melee profile,
please.
They just need to give it a melee profile. Has a flamer, has a giant spear. Give it a melee profile.
Yes.
Great.
So on that last point you made, though, I do agree. I view if you look at 40K in the armies as like an ecosystem, I think knights are one of the easiest to place as they should be the 50% army. they should be the army, you know, that you see that in the early rounds, they get people like you should play fair, maybe new, whatever, dominate. As they get, you know, they go 2-0, 3-0, they start hitting either better armies that are geared to take care of them, or players maybe with worse matchups, but know how to move, block, and take advantage of the weaknesses. And then it's a matter of player skill, which, like you said, always feels good, where you play a 5-turn game and it came down to who piloted better, not necessarily, you know, a difference in rules knowledge, or just, you know, whether that's knowing the rules or just having more broken rules than your opponent. Mm-hmm. So I do agree there. And we've seen it with with Knights, when the Chaos Knight Codex came out and all the Knights went down like 30 points. That was when you could fit 6 bigs on a table. Boy, howdy. Mm-hmm. Or with Necrons, who ran a very similar thing with like 5 Catan. And, you know, we've seen that the skew of durability pushed the whole game in that direction, because you just had to. Other than Recon Guard, but that's not a real army. We don't count that.
One thing that just popped in my head as well: if Knights are your first army, another downside to it, which is something I learned the hard way, is that we play on an entirely different spectrum than regular 40k, because we're all vehicles. So be prepared to get surprised on how awkward movement can be for us sometimes if your opponent has staged correctly and they're a solid player, because there's going to be a lot of things we won't be able to do because of the fact we're a vehicle. So our armigers have to go all the way around the wall to charge or to move, etc. But also understand that, like, I didn't know how transports worked. I didn't know about move blocking. Why? Because I'm moving a single round-based model. So take advantage of access to allies and things like that to understand that, and add some diversity to your army that your main list may be lacking. And again, that really only falls on beginner players that are starting in Knights, because that's something I experienced. If you're coming from like Space Marines or Tyranids or Grey Knights or whatnot, like, you already understand how all those things work because you played in your previous army, so you can kind of avoid that downfall.
And I saved this for last, unless you guys have anything else to add, because, you know, we always like to try and end on kind of, you know, an uplifting, positive note. More, you know, passion for the faction. What are your gentlemen's thoughts on the new kid on the block, the Destrier? He's been out for, I think, 2 weeks now, maybe 3. I've lost track. But have you guys gotten reps with it? You know, how do you feel about it? What's it, you know, does it have any place in your list, or maybe some future lists you want to test? Dustin, we'll let you go. We'll give Caesar's vocal cords a rest for a minute.
Yeah. So the steer, I'm really up on. It's a little expensive. It's $250. I was really hoping to see about $220. I wish I had a couple more wounds too, like maybe 20 to 22. I think that would have been perfect. I think it's gonna be very good in 11th edition, especially its range profile. I'm not on the range this year. I think the weapons are kind of lackluster to AP1, 2 damage. But I am on the melee profile, especially when you do double melee and you get the +2 attacks. I love that profile. I'm really happy with that. It's really fast. And the detachment that you're going to be playing them on, you can give it sustain its 2, or you can give it an extra 2 extra attacks with hitting on 2, which is also very good. And then for, you know, list wise, like, I'm thinking about just running like triple Astropos, triple Desteer for Crystal Companions.
Oh,
you have to let me know how that goes.
That is spicy.
It is going very well, Caesar.
For those of you for those who've never seen Dustin play or know about any of the events, for him saying that's going very well is a terrifying prospect if you're around him locally. Just be aware.
And I think that list is very good in QC. If I'm playing like a free blade, I just like maybe just one with Bringer of Justice. I think that's also a very good pick for Bringers. But that's it for me. What do you think about the new model?
I'm going to try not to talk a lot because I feel like I've did a little bit recently, but you're right on. I think the general consensus at the moment is that you either want to lean into all shooting or all melee, and the hybrids just aren't delivering. It is a little overcosted, and it's actually, you hit the nail on the head too with a couple extra wounds, because I think it's overperformed. It's not overperformed, but I think it feels solid in free blades, which is what I've been running it in, and it's just that little bit of extra durability. Questor's Companions is probably the strongest for it because all the strats and everything work with it, considering it's a character. its speed is its biggest strength. It is absolutely just it's crazy too because it doesn't feel super fast, but I guess because it's a larger knight, it's a little more intimidating because it can go through walls and kind of surprise your opponent. I agree with you as well on the range. It really, if you're not shooting on something on an objective or it doesn't have the enhancement for ignores cover, the weapons are very lackluster, and that's probably where the melee one comes out. And yeah, I think you covered it really solid. It's fun. We're good. It's interesting to see how it plays out when 11th drops.
Yep. No, I'm excited for an 11th, especially with large cover rules largely looking like they're affecting your hits, ability to hit, and not necessarily armor saves. AP1 shooting, may be back in vogue, at least, potentially. We don't know. And we're going to wait for all the rules to come out because forecasting on, just with limited knowledge is a fool's errand. But it does look promising from what I've seen as well. With that, do you gentlemen have any final nuggets of wisdom or, words of inspiration for the fine folks? I have no further questions about Knights. I think we've done a very thorough section of your guys' experience and, with the faction.
Yeah, the only thing I can say is keep trying to up your game is the best thing I could say. They are as simple of a faction as you allow them to be, and they could be, not super complex because, again, we're only vehicles. They can only make us so powerful, but I think they have a lot more versatility if you're willing to explore and push your limits.
As an opponent to Knights, I can say that, they are very intimidating, as, Caesar pointed out, and, Dustin has alluded to with his high pressure list and play style. But they can go all across the spectrum from, just casual fun. Here's the model, like Caesar started with I have or I like, to these are the most efficient things that I can run to, win this game with. And, it's great to see, even not as an army I play, but as a fan of the game, that they're even an army as potentially elite as Knights can be, that ability to kind of fluctuate how you want to play the game. Shooting, melee, big, smalls, allies, no allies, etc. So it's very cool. GW has given themselves some outs to kind of leverage the power of Knights. And, I'm kind of hoping to see that go forward in 11th. I really like Knights when they are about a middle of the pack army, where they're, playable, but not skewing the game because they're so problematic. So with that, once again, just for the wonderful people who have stayed with us for almost an hour and a half, good Lord, you guys love this army. Dustin, where could the fine people find you if they have any further questions or maybe, want to clarify something or get your opinion? What's a good way to, reach you, if any? Maybe you're a private man who knows your privacy.
So, I'm known by Dustin on all the Discords. You can just reach out to me on the Onslaught Discord. There's a lot of different 40K by Night Discords that I'm on. And then, like I said, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. We love having you on here. And Caesar, as for yourself, same thing. If people want to reach out to you or find more of you, how can they do that?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was an absolute delightful talking shop with you guys, and especially my favorite faction. And I do want to say that probably 10 minutes of the time was taken up by the Defiler. So I don't want to say that we by default talked more than every other faction. Okay, just wanted to throw that out there. You guys can catch me on the Onslaught Gaming Discord. I'm on there as well as Caesar. And then, of course, you can check me out on my battle reports. I do throw out night training content on there as well at Recon by Fire on YouTube. If I didn't say it was YouTube. So there you go. Yeah. Thanks for having me. We'll have
that in the description as well, so you can find that as well as the Onslaught Discord to reach out to any of us. And look, Defiler or not, this has been my favorite episode of this. So, and I probably will be because I don't know if I mentioned it, but Knights is the most played army I personally got into because I'm just lucky that way. But thank you very much, gentlemen. You guys play a wonderful faction. Every kid's dream of giant mecha punching each other is why I believe a lot of people get into 40K personally, because whether you like Knights, Tau, Chaos Knights, Defilers, Caesar, whatever, there are plenty of big robots to go around, and Imperial Knights, they are just the flashiest.
I'm a Lord of Skulls guy, personally.
Look, I'm a Brass Scorpion guy, and I'm mad it got taken away.
I never saw one. Never got to play with one.
My final word on the matter. Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad, but the model looked cool. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you for those of you who stayed with us. Make sure you like, subscribe, go check out Recon by Fire if you want more of him. He does very good work. And hope to see you guys around for the next one. Hope everyone has a good night.